What emotional abuse is, according to Wikipedia, emotional abuse is subjecting someone to words or behaviors that may result in psychological trauma. It's a funny thing about emotional abuse because a lot of times we do this in our culture to each other and we recognize it as joking around, being sarcastic, pulling someone's chain, or giving them a hard time, or busting their balls, or all these different things that we call it to make it acceptable in our society and in our families. And really what all this is emotional abuse. We are actually literally abusing each other and expecting everyone to be okay with it. And when you really break it down like that, that actually sounds insane, doesn't it? We expect our friends and our families to accept emotional abuse. Now, that is just insane because emotional abuse has so many deep, damaging ways that it can affect us. And when you hear it as a child, it's even more damaging, and it can scar you for life until you realize where this scar, this wound is coming from. You can't heal it unless you know it's there. And that's why a lot of times, because it's so accepted as just the norm, just a way that we relate to each other, we never think about that this could be the culprit of what's been keeping us from feeling good about ourselves or being successful in our lives, feeling worthy and things like that. And I don't think it's fair for anyone to expect anyone else to accept abuse and just take it. You know, a lot of times the way it looks like when someone expects you to take their abuse is they say a joke about you and then you get bothered by it, and then they say, oh, you're too sensitive, or oh, grow a pair. I've heard that one. I've heard both of them, actually. When you really think about it and you really break it down, exactly the interaction that happened, it's like, hold on a second. You just emotionally abused me, and then when I expressed my hurt about it, you re-victimized me by telling me that I'm too sensitive and I should grow a pair. Like, now you're not only getting abused once, you're getting abused twice. And this person doesn't care about your feelings at all. Basically, let's get down to what emotional abuse looks like. So, if someone is criticizing you, that's emotional abuse. If someone is insulting you, that is also emotional abuse. Manipulating you, humiliating you, making sarcastic jokes, trying to control you. Like, and this has happened to me by family so many times. I come from a narcissistic family. I have personal experience with this, and I will go into my story in another video to let you know exactly what my experience with all this is. But for now, we're just going to talk about, emotional abuse and how it affects you. So controlling, what that looks like is, for example, I met a man. I felt he's my soulmate. I'm still married to him. We both love each other so much. We're each other's soulmates. We have an amazing relationship. When I started dating him, My family did not approve. They didn't like him. He was like, even before they met him, they didn't like him. And then my sister and my brother-in-law, they wanted to set me up with another guy, a guy that they approved of. So basically, they didn't want me to keep seeing my husband now because they didn't approve of him. They wanted somebody that they approved of, someone that would mesh well with them and integrate with the family, with my narcissistic family. So basically, if I ever would have gone out on a date with this guy, he probably would have ended up being a narcissist too. They wanted someone that they got along with. Never mind me. I was the last piece of the puzzle. They already knew him. They liked him. They approved of him. So they didn't want me to date the guy I was dating. They wanted me to date the guy that they already felt comfortable with. So it really didn't matter how I felt about anything. I was the last piece of the puzzle. It was like, date this guy or somebody very similar to him or someone that we approve of, or else we're just going to give you a hard time. And of course, I went with my heart and I continued dating and married the man that I'm with now. And they didn't like him, they didn't accept him. He's like the nicest guy in the world, but they had like so many issues because they weren't the ones who chose him. So that's what controlling looks like. Somebody else is controlling your life decisions. Decisions that should come from your heart, that should come from you, that nobody else should have a say in. If they're not paying your rent, they're not paying your bills, they're not taking care of you, you're taking care of yourself, you're completely independent, they have no business making any type of life decisions like that for you at all. Another example of emotional abuse is belittling. Like, for example, belittling your feelings, and like that example I used before. Somebody says a joke about you, you tell them that it hurt you, and they say, "Oh, you're too sensitive." That's belittling. And there's, of course, lots of other examples of that. Teasing, um, disregarding your opinions and your feelings, saying constantly saying that you're wrong, you're the one who's wrong, they're always right. They never accept responsibility for what they've done wrong. They always place the blame on you. And of course, saying you're too sensitive. And those are just some. Other ones that you don't really see too much on emotional abuse lists, but it is emotional abuse, is unsolicited advice. And when you're a grown adult, a grown independent adult, and somebody like a parent or an older brother or sister, whoever, is constantly telling you, "Oh, you shouldn't live in this house, you should live in that house, or you shouldn't spend so much money on this, you should be spending your money on that, or you shouldn't marry this person, or you shouldn't date that person, or you shouldn't wear this," all kinds of stuff. I could go on forever. When they're giving you unsolicited advice like that, and they could disguise it in many forms, and they can say, "Oh, I'm just saying it because I love you. I'm just saying it because I'm concerned about you." I've heard that many times. What's happening is, when they give you this unsolicited advice, number one, they're treating you like a child. Even though you're an adult, they're trying to act like a parent and treat you like a child. But you're a grown adult, a grown independent adult who takes care of yourself. So how insulting is that? Basically, what they're telling you is, you can't handle life on your own. You need my wisdom, quote unquote wisdom, in order to get through. Because you can't handle your life on your own without my advice. and my suggestions. And then the other thing is, of course, I don't approve of the decisions that you're making. So you need to make decisions that I approve of, that make me feel comfortable. So what does that sound like? Sounds like they're trying to control you. So that's what unsolicited advice does. They're controlling you by giving it to you, and they're basically taking a full-grown adult, a full-grown independent adult, and turning them into a child by treating them like a child. I may do a video on that later, about unsolicited advice. So those are all the forms of emotional abuse. Of course, there's many more, but those are the basics.